Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Please, everyone, have your seat. It's an honor to be here with you at Victory Sanctuary this evening. I think God surely works miracles. He works wonders. That it didn't take me any extra effort to come here tonight and to speak on this topic, what's coming next, and the direction I decided to take the presentation. I guess God surely aligns with what He has laid in our hearts to do. And so speaking here to you today surely is a testimony and a testament to what God will surely unravel in the coming years or in the coming days. I think a special thank you to the pastorate, to the leadership of the church, and also I must make a special mention of my good friend, Pastor Femi Ajayi, and his beautiful wife, Mrs. Idowu Ajayi. We have been friends for how many years now, Femi? Since 2011. And amazingly, we are now working in the same industry. So whatever it is I'll be telling you today, it's not far-fetched from what Pastor Femi himself should have been able to deliver to you. But I felt, or maybe he thought I would do justice to it rather, which is why I was invited. And also when I saw the billboard and the flyers, I realized that I was the only lady. So obviously, he was the one that should have done justice to this topic, but thank you again for just making sure that I know your church today, and I'm really grateful to be here. So the topic, what's coming next? When I saw that topic, and obviously in the context of agriculture, in the context of food, I asked myself, if I were to deliver this to a group of people, particularly the body, in what language would they understand what it is that I'm trying to say? It would not be nice for me to come here and start speaking in policy form or to start talking to you in a way that you just wouldn't have the understanding or the clarity. But the truth of the matter is a lot is happening, and you may think it doesn't concern you, but trust me, it revolves around you. It revolves around your family. It revolves around your now and your future. And the reason is not far-fetched. You must eat. If you like, do 20 days fasting, 21 days fasting, 70 days fasting, 100 days fasting. One day, you will break that fast. And you will break that fast with food. If you have kids, you send your kids to school. What is important is they must go with snacks. They must go with food. If you have people working with you or for you, they can't deliver on what it is you have assigned them to do if they had not fed well. So it tells you that everything you do, everything about your productivity is centered around food. And God also did not make a mistake. The very first occupation He gave man was to till the Garden of Eden. And that was also around food. So it tells you that food is integral. Food is a part and parcel of our everyday life. Now, with a lot of things happening, what should we be looking forward to? So I know I have a presentation. I don't know if they will show it, but I can just keep speaking because I believe I have just 20 minutes. The truth of the matter is a lot is changing. A lot of people tend to bury their heads in the sand, not wanting to have a clear understanding. So long as you can go into your market and buy your food, or you can order your food and delivery is done. A lot of us don't really care where the food is coming from, how it arrived. The most important thing that we think, is critical to us is just the price or the cost that we have paid for it. But trust me, it goes beyond that. What you are consuming today, more than half of it is GMO. That is, it is genetically modified. So it means down the line, in just a few years' time, you continue to see a rise in incidences like cancer. You continue to see rise in incidents around health that you've not heard of before, or even if you've heard of them before, the rate at which they are now occurring is more than ever before. Now you see little children go to the hospitals, you see a lot of cases, and you are wondering what is happening. Our little girls today, from the ages of 7, 8, they've started their periods. That's not how it used to be. All of these things have implications down the line, and so on and so forth. Yes. Okay, so not to stray, I will go to the story that we are all familiar with, and that is Genesis 41. What is going to happen in the next couple of years? It's not a far-fetched story. We are going to see scarcity of food. It's already happening, but we are not feeling it too much yet, but we are going to have a scarcity of food. And we are going to have the scarcity because several things are happening globally. There are geopolitical issues happening. The Iran-US-Israel war is a major issue. The Russia-Ukraine war is another major issue. The US-China economic war is a major issue. US invading Venezuela is a major issue. The issues we have with insecurity in our own country, it is also going to affect. When you have farmer-header clashes, it is also an issue. So there are so many permutations around what is going on today that it is just inherent that scarcity will definitely happen. Right now, the US-Iran-Israel war, I know a lot of you would have heard this place called the Strait of Hormuz. It is a narrow passageway where a lot of your ships bringing different things, be it oil, be it fertilizer, be it LNG, they pass through this narrow channel between the Gulf states and the rest of the world. And it is a very critical passage, even for goods coming from China to arrive in many destinations across the globe. With the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, right now, the world is experiencing a shortage in fertilizer distribution. 30% of your fertilizer globally supplied passes through this place. 20% of your liquefied natural gas passes through this place. 27% of your oil passes through this place. A closure means you are going to have shortages. When fertilizer distribution cannot happen, it means your farmers cannot have access to it. It means those who grow crops, not just for your consumption alone, but crops so that your animals, like your chicken, can get maize to feed on, your cows can get sorghum and any other thing that is required, they won't have access to it. So automatically, the little yield that the farmer is going to get in the next couple of months and years, the prices are going to be very high. If you now happen to get it and the prices are not that high, then look out for the fact that it may be a genetically modified variant. It means you are not getting the real deal. It may be cheap today, but tomorrow it's going to count in your health costs. And so it means you are going to be paying the hospitals for that cheap food that is not really real today. And so these are issues that we foresee, and we are still trying to see how all of this would align with how the global bodies and the World Health Organizations and what have you, how these issues will be resolved. Can we move on to the next slide? Aside this, you also have local risks. You have elections coming. You have change of government happening, not just here alone, but in different countries around the world. All of these have an impact on what is going to happen. And like I said, going back to Genesis 41, there will be wars, there will be rumors of wars, there will be famine, there will be droughts, there will be floods, there will be shortages of food. And from what we saw that Joseph was able to do, he foresaw it, or rather, he was able to more or less reveal to Pharaoh the dream he had and interpret it the right way, and he was able to put systems in place to ensure that the shocks were minimized. Egypt was able to save a lot of people. Egypt essentially, should I say, saved Israel at that point, and today we have the world we have because of what that one singular man was able to do by the act of God in him. What did Joseph get right? Joseph was able to plan. Joseph was able to build the appropriate systems. Joseph was able to understand the trends. Joseph was able to invest in the systems. If you recollect the story, all of the Egyptians at some point, every single thing they had to sell just for Joseph to be able to give them seed, for them to plant, for them to grow. At some point again, they had to give off a fifth of everything they grew back to Pharaoh. They had to seed their lands, but at the end of the day, they were still able to get some food. But at the heart of it, Egypt was resilient. Egypt fed the rest of the world. And that is still going to happen again. You have only a few countries that will be export ready, that will be export driven, that will feed the rest of the world, and those who are dependent on those countries are going to bear the brunt of it. In the next coming years, any country that can feed itself and feed others is going to hold the economic power. It's not going to be about oil alone. It's going to be about who can feed you. And anyone feeding you is automatically your master. And so we must be ready to change that narrative, particularly about our country, Nigeria. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So, why invest in food systems? I mean, I don't hear a lot of people today in school saying they want to become a farmer or that they want to get into food-related activities. A lot of people want to work in the banks. They want to work in tech. They want to work anywhere else apart from food systems. But it is actually the right place to be because it is the silent powerhouse of the future. I used to work for a company, Olam, and I asked our global CEO and a couple of other management team members, why is Olam only into food business? Why are we not divesting into oil and gas? Why are we not doing any other thing apart from food? And there was a resounding feedback. Food is the future. Anyone that has access to food, anyone that can control the flow of food will control the powers in the times to come. And I asked why. Anyone who can control food production will control water resources. Anyone who controls food production will control land resources. Anyone who controls food production will control economic policies. Anyone who controls food and its distribution will control the powers that be. So if you think that maybe today the oil and gas, this and that, they seem to have more in terms of economic strength, it is just for now. Whosoever is in charge of food and whosoever is driving food systems will control the world. If you can do a bit of research after this, check who is the largest individual landowner in the United States today, and even for the rest of the world. It is Bill Gates. This is a man who grew a tech industry or a tech giant, Microsoft. He's more or less exited Microsoft. He's no longer at the helm of affairs. But why is he paying so much attention to food and food production? When it comes to biotechnology, which is where you have your genetically modified foods, Bill Gates is behind a lot of that. He owns lands across 18 states in the United States alone. United States has 50 states. 18 of it alone, 18 or 19, he has land in it. He has over 250,000 acres of land, and everything is related to agriculture. So it makes you wonder, why is he so interested in this? And why are we not paying attention to it? So there is no right time to get into food systems or to invest in food systems than today. Can we move on to the next slide? So, if we ignore the signals, and the signals will come in the form of shortages of food, closure of supply chain and supply lines. I mean, many times in the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years, it's either there's food blockage from the north and automatically prices go 2 or 3 times. And trust me, even when the blockages are removed, the prices never go back to the same price point anymore. Or that there's just one thing or the other around taxes, which will also automatically affect your price of food. It will affect your logistics cost. It will affect your power cost. It will drive everything up. We cannot afford to ignore those signals. They are definitely going to happen. What does not stop the crisis is us burying our heads in the sand. Like I said, a lot of us do not concern ourselves with issues related to food because just go into your market, you'll still find it no matter how expensive it is. But a time will come, just like it happened during the times of Pharaoh, Joseph, Egypt, Israel. They said in the Bible, money failed. Go back to Genesis 41 and read it. Money failed, meaning people had money, but money was no longer working for the situation at hand. If we are not careful, that will also happen. People will have the money, but to buy the right kinds of food, you won't find. Even if you buy the foods and you are buying genetically modified foods, it's like you are buying poison for your system, whereas down the line, you are going to spend even much more for your health, or even at the end of the day, the person may not make it. So these are signals that we are seeing today that people must start to notice and start to pay attention. When you go into your market, ask, where is this coming from? When you are meeting and buying from your street hawkers, check how they are preserving the food. Are they using carbide to ripen plantain? Are they putting all sorts of chemicals in your watermelon? Even those that are growing crops by the sides of the road, check the water they are using to water those crops. Some people take water from the gutters and from the canal to water the plants that they end up selling to you and I. You may think it doesn't matter. The water component in that leaf, in that succulent, in that fruit, it's not pure. And so automatically you yourself, you're ingesting poison. And so we must start to be aware of all of those things and not take it lightly. And then, when you are also going out to buy food from your food vendors, a lot of food vendors, they end up buying spoiled, rotten foods from the major markets. But because they have processed it to cook for you, you don't even notice. But if you are at a restaurant and you go to the back and you see what they are doing with the kind of foods they are buying to prepare for you, some of us will never eat outside again. So please start to pay attention. Can we move on to the next slide? And so the call to action is, how do we build systems? How do we minimize the waste? So in Nigeria, we produce a lot of food. Don't let anybody faze you by saying that, oh, food production in Nigeria, we are not getting anywhere. Nigeria is actually producing a lot of food. The problem is our post-harvest losses are too high. When you produce something and you are losing almost 50% of that produce because you have inefficiency on your roads, you don't have the right kind of trucks to transfer the foods, you are not having the right places or infrastructure to accommodate the foods, you don't have the people to even do the distribution right, you are going to face a lot of wastages. And that is a part of what is causing the problems we have when we have high prices. So reducing wastages also, that means people should invest in the right infrastructure alongside government. That would also help us to mitigate the losses that we face. And then investing in the future. Truth be told, encourage your children. Encourage those around you that are still young and wanting to get into all sorts of things. All of our children cannot become entertainers. All of our children cannot become content creators. Somebody must feed the rest of the world. Someone must feed the rest of us. Encourage your children to get into agriculture and food systems. There are many new technologies today where children don't have to go using hoe and cutlass to grow. There's hydroponics, there's aeroponics, there's aquaculture. There are all sorts of technologies today that can be taught, and they are simple for children to start to learn to grow food and automatically get interested and invested in our food systems. And so even our churches, let that be a part of what is taught. When we have youth fellowship, when we have youth programs, it's not all the time that we must only go to hospitals or go to the streets and try to encourage. As part of evangelism, let us have backyard farms as well. Let the youth come. Let us grow something so that in the next 1 month or 2 months, when you want to do your food drive and you want to give out free food, let that food come from the church garden. These are the things that we can actually teach ourselves. Next slide, please. And so, just coming back to what we have done in Lagos, I know Pastor Femi mentioned quite a couple of them, but just to reiterate again, going back to the story of Joseph, having the right systems in place saved Egypt and saved Israel and saved many other countries across the world, just by reason of what Joseph was able to do. Joseph built storehouses. Joseph built barns. Joseph built the adequate infrastructure to take in food that they had in abundance for 7 years, such that the 7 years of shortages and no availability of food, Joseph and Egypt were still able to feed the rest of us. We understand our place of competitive and comparative advantage in Lagos. We are the smallest state in Nigeria. We take on about 10% of the population. Our land mass is shrinking. It's been estimated by the United Nations that by 2100, a lot of places in Lagos will be uninhabitable because of the water. We know all of these things. And yet, if you know the number of people that come into Lagos daily and are not returning, you'll be shocked. There's a lot of pressure on our infrastructure. There's a lot of pressure on our systems. But at the end of the day, the people will still clamor to the government to say prices are too high, food is not available, systems are not working. We know that a time is coming when there will be disruptions in the supply chain again. Look at what happened during COVID. Just under a couple of weeks, and everywhere was in a state of panic and chaos. But thankfully, Lagos was able to lead by pioneering the food distribution system to the point where the private sector joined and were giving the food to the states to be able to do the distribution because no other person had the scale or scope to be able to do that. And taking lessons from that and seeing what the rest of the world is doing, and we are not taking a learning from it. In Lagos, we said, no, we won't go that route. We may not be the biggest in terms of food production, but we are the biggest market in Africa. If there's anything that needs to be done in Africa or in any part of the world today, Lagos is mentioned just by reason of the population alone. We are estimated to grow from 24 million to 40 million by 2040. And even that, I'm sure if we were to take census today, Lagos is already over 30 million. But nobody is saying anything about that for now. But it tells you that the population will continue to rise. And so, when Bege happens, everybody will say, what has government done or what is government doing? And so, which is why we are building just like Joseph did during those times. In the times of plenty, where do you store? And besides, it's just a basic biblical principle. Even there are many places in the Bible, when there is abundance, when you have excess, you keep some because when the time when the lean times come, you have something to fall back on. And so we are building the largest food logistics park in Africa as at this time, in Ekpe, to store adequate food. In some of the facilities alone, you'll be able to store over 50 million bags of 50-kilo rice. And I'm just using that as an example of one type of food alone. You are going to have silos to store grains. You are having one of the largest cold storage facilities in Africa. And so many other things will be there just to ensure that we can preserve food for a minimum of 180 days. So imagine that trucks cannot come into Lagos with food for the next 1 month, for the next 2 months. The idea is this facility should still have enough food for distribution around Lagos so that people can still have something to eat. And then you now have smaller hubs. The Mushin hub, the Abidjan hub, the Agege hub, the Okpebi hub, the Bombata hub, the Ikorodu hub. These are just exemplars of what infrastructure around market and food distribution should look like. You cannot have or build a system and not have the right channels for distribution. You will end up just working blindly. And so we have taken it upon ourselves to ensure that we develop a beautiful hub and spoke model such that whatever foods are coming in, we can account for it. Whatever foods are going out, we can account for it. We can start to work around price points so that people do not take advantage of the consumers, and we can also ensure quality and safety of those food items. And obviously, when you can also do massive preservation, that 50% lost in production, you can mitigate it and have more food available, and that would end up being cheaper for all of us. And then you now have the other projects centered particularly around youth in agriculture. What we have seen is majority of those who are even practicing anything related to food today, they didn't study agriculture. A lot of people see agriculture as something they can fall back on as a hobby after retirement. But we are seeing a new generation cropping up. We have accountants, we have engineers, we have economists, we have people from all walks of life outside of agriculture that are taking it upon themselves to develop the food systems. And so we have also taken it upon ourselves to develop that ecosystem where their language is spoken, not government language, Gen Z language, where they understand and we hear them and we do what is needful to help them scale and grow their business. And that is where we have the Lagos Agri-Innovation Club. Outside of this club, we have the Lagos Agri Scholars Program. This is for the younger generation, Gen Alpha. And you are talking about your secondary school students. We are developing school-smart agric laboratories. I'm calling them laboratories, not in the sense that you have chemistry lab where you can pour chemicals together and come up with a new compound. But we are developing labs in the sense that they can test out new technologies without doing the back-breaking work that people automatically ascribe to agriculture. And we see that there's a lot of interest, particularly in the children, around wanting to get into the food systems, when they know that even for them to grow a crop now, they don't have to till the ground. All they need is just a pipe, drill a hole, use cocoa peat, which is from your coconut husk. They put it together, put a little bit of water, put the seedlings in it, ensure that there's adequate light, and the plant starts to grow. And in a couple of weeks, they can actually harvest, sell, and come back and replant again. And the waters that are used in the production, it can be used or reticulated for aquaculture and for so many other things. So there are a lot of things that we're also teaching, particularly around minimizing waste when it comes to agriculture, and at the same time showcasing the use of technologies so that people know that it is not back-breaking work that you otherwise know agriculture to be. And then aside this, when we look at the entire system holistically, what people need also is funding. How do they get access to funding? Which is why we also give grants. A grant is not a loan. A grant is free money. And when I say free money, tell me what your business idea is around food. Tell me the impact you will make if you were to have access to this kind of money. Tell me what you have done already, even in the space, without any support. And let us be able to fund you, help you, grow an ecosystem around you where any additional functions that you need to support your business to scale, to grow, so that you can employ more people, we can get it for you. And we've been able to do that successfully in the last 2 years. Just by giving grants alone, we have given, I think, close to 300 million to individuals that have no connection to government or to any official in the system. And we see the ecosystem growing, we see the ecosystem thriving. And so these are many ways in which people are getting into the space, and it is actually encouraging to see that, yes, this is really working. And then, lastly, one of the most important infrastructure when it comes to food is the logistics. You can have the beautiful systems in place. You can have the beautiful infrastructure to store. You can give all of the support to farmers on the field. You can do all of the aggregation. If you don't have the right connectivity, which is your logistics, and this also goes back to your roads again, you've only done half of the work, which is why the state government is also investing in what we call ecolog, which is eco-logistics. These are cold chain trucks. In this country alone, we require over 25,000 40-ton trucks just to fill the demand of transporting food. But guess what? We have only just roughly about 1,500 in the entire country. It tells you that there's a huge gap between what is needed and what is actually on ground. And so that is why you see so much losses happening within the system. There's room for investments. There's room for opportunities for people to get into the space. I know people may ask, yes, it's beautiful, all of these things I have said, but how do you invest where the structure, you don't even really understand it? The truth of the matter is, even we ourselves, or let me use myself as a case in point, I don't have a full understanding of all of the systems we have laid out. But we are also listening to what God is telling us. God will not necessarily tell you everything from beginning to the end. When he told Abraham, move from your father's house, Abraham didn't have all of the information from God. God just said follow, and Abraham followed. And as he moved step by step, God was revealing to him what will happen next. And so that is the journey we have also embarked on. And I'm happy that Pastor Femi is also a part of that journey. And so we walk this journey together. You can walk this journey with us. There's a lot of hope in this country. There's a lot of potential that this country holds. Nigeria can be the next Egypt during the times of famine. The only thing is, how many of us are willing to actually put our hearts, put our minds, put our utterances into ensuring that there's a turnaround in the affairs of this country? Another election is going to happen in the next couple of months, 9 months, 10 months, thereabouts. If you sit in your house and you don't vote, you're a part of the problem. You may say, even if I vote, does it matter? You just still do the needful. do what God has said you should do by reason of how he's structured and said, the government of the times, you just do what is required. And you never can tell what God can do. So there are so many things that I would still love to say, but for want of time. But trust me, your health is tied to your food. Your productivity is tied to your food. Your life is tied to your food. Be concerned about what is happening today. You are not exempt. If you bury your head in the sand, you are just killing yourself slowly down the line. Be interested in where your food is coming from. Be interested in how your food is preserved. Be interested in how your food is prepared. Be interested in who is bringing in your food. Be interested in what is happening in Iran, in Iraq, in Israel, in US. Pray, because all of these things have a domino effect on what eventually happens to you and all of your blood, sweat, and tears. You can work hard all the days of your life, but if the cost of food is too high, and you know that a high proportion of your disposable income goes to food, you are only working to eat, and then you may just be eating poison. So nothing that is happening today, as globally connected as we are, you are not exempt. All of us are a part of what is happening. And so let us pay attention. And when we see opportunities, let us also take it. Please, you can start off by taking empty tires. Start growing food in your house. Take empty plastics. Try and grow something. Encourage the children around you to get into planting. In church, let us do the same, and God will help us. I hope I've been able to speak, because I think I actually digressed, but whatever the case may be, what God has laid in my heart is what I have said. Thank you very much.
Praise the Lord. Let us put our hands together for this wonderful, timely, deeply, and instructive